What's up, everyone? How's it going? Welcome to today's market analysis or trade recap episode. Today is Wednesday, July the 16th, and we took one trade and we took a small loss on it. We managed our risk so that we don't take our full stop loss, but there are some things that I do believe we could have done better to avoid this loss overall. And we'll dive into all of that in today's analysis. First of all, I do want to overview the news that was there for today. Today we did have PPI, and according to Financial Juice, stocks rose, dollar and US bond yields weakened. So that means that ES and Q likely strengthened from that. But if you look on the charts later on, we start seeing aggressive selling pressure after that initial push up. On top of that, we have some very important news that had moved the market a lot. Right here at 10:55 Central Time and right here at 10:16 Central Time. Because we got this announcement that Trump is likely to fire Powell soon, price dumped like crazy. And now here, Trump said that he's not planning on doing it. Price pumped like crazy. So we had that overall rebalance segment from that news, and it was very difficult to trade with that increased volatility. That's almost 5 to 6 times the typical volatility and volume in a single 5-minute candle. That essentially made that time after 10:05, 10:10-ish completely untradeable. But the time before that, it wasn't the best conditions to trade as well. As you can see here, the entire range was pretty choppy, as you can see. 950. And yeah, you can just take a look at that Trump news that we see here with that big down wick. Not wick, but big down candle, big red candle. And then once another announcement came that he's likely to fire Powell, fell down again. Here we saw that Trump said not likely to do anything. Then we saw that rebalance back up to this general level. So let me outline the overall game plan coming into the day, right? Market opened around here, so we're sitting right around this 30-minute supply zone area, right? First thing, I wanted to see how price reacts at this area. Second thing, I wanted to see expansion. If we break through this barrier, we might take longs aiming for the next level. If we react from it with significance, with Bookmap logic behind it, then we might take a retracement play towards the short side. And that's actually just how we played the day out. And on NQ, it's going to essentially be the same thing. We're right around this 15-minute zone. Wanted to see a reaction. Just use this for additional confluence. As you can see, the wick actually seemed to play out very nicely with this 3-hour. We swept that lower 3-hour liquidity, came back up. But yeah, that's doesn't matter. Let's focus on ES and let's focus on this trade and the market session that we had here today. And I mean, I don't have much more to say. Let's dive straight into it. There we go. Let's go into market open. So here I have Bookmap open right around that market open time. I just gotta skip forward a little bit. Right here. So as you see, market open, we saw our initial pump up towards these 6,300 levels. At 6,300, what we saw happening was a large amount of buying volume getting in and then aggressive selling coming in as well, following. Like usual, no trades can even be found simply because of how the spread of liquidity on Bookmap is looking. We simply wait until a bit after. Like you see how much passive liquidity is just spread and distributed throughout this initial market open time frame. And that could be market maker liquidity, that could be simple retail buyers trying to get in. We can't leverage that to make returns, so why even try? So now we're still watching, and now we see that seller expansion towards the downside with the very, very aggressive passive selling in this entire block from 6,300 down to 6,295. So this entire 5 point range, very important in terms of passive sellers. Let's go here and I'll mark out that box out on here as well. 9.5 up to 9,300. Very aggressive selling. And just because I'm curious, I'm going to zoom out and see if any selling actually came through that. And look at that, right at that 6,295 area. Ooh, we saw that big Trump dump right at 6,925. And that shows you the power of understanding where passive liquidity is in the market as well, because it can stand as actual important levels with logic and actual market data behind it, instead of simply candlesticks. But let's keep going. Since we do have a target down at this area, if price would head into it and we see absorption, we potentially can enter shorts targeting down. But as you see, we don't see that at all. Passive selling moves down and we continue to make a move towards the downside. Very aggressive selling coming in off of that 30-minute. It does seem at this point that we saw a large move towards the downside, so I'm trying to potentially take a retracement towards the downside because our next Bookmap significant level is around 6270, as you'll see. And here, let me move this to the side a little bit, and it didn't show up yet, but you'll go ahead and see it later in the session where 6270 turns out to be a key level. But let's keep moving forward. We're coming into the 6285 level. Let me see. I don't think we've seen any. Maybe we saw absorption here at that 845 candle, which would correspond to this range right here. I mean, we don't really go, I mean, we do tap it once or twice, but that overall bulk is still there. Nothing is too crazy that I would have taken shorts simply because it's so early as well, but we are seeing on Footprint and Bookmap that there was likely buyer absorption there, followed by aggressive selling, which potentially we could have capitalized on. And I'm gonna go back and replay that to see if we actually may have been able to capture that. Okay, I don't even know what I clicked, but let's go back to that time. Right here. Yeah, there's passive liquidity coming in around 6293, but 6295 is where the actual significant bulk is there. So I want to see how price reacts at that 6293, no, 6295 area, and we don't ever seem to get to that area. The highest we go is 6293.25. And we need price to head up to that 6295 relative to that area for us to take shorts, and simply we did not see that occur. No shorts there. And then soon after you see the sell off come through, and here at this 6285 level down here you see this large chunk of volume, and that's completely reasonable. There's a passive buyer target here at 6285. Right at 6285, what are we seeing? A large volume. It's simple as that. You'll know to understand this volume with liquidity of passive participants in the market. Typically when there's passive participants in the market, it's typically associated with higher amounts of volume. When you're finding absorption, you want to find absorption where there is high volume, as you can see here, with aggressive delta. When you combine those two together, that provides high quality absorption. But yeah, we just see continued sell-off. Now, maybe we see a retracement play here at 850 this candle. You do see us coming into that passive selling area a little bit. But there's nothing, is there anything to target? Oh, let's see. A 6270 does seem to be bulking up on some orders now. But again, nothing too significant for us to take any trade off of at this point. We are making lots of volume and buyers are starting to come in, but there's lots of passive participants on either side. It's hard to tell where price will head next. And from this point, we do see a small retracement towards the upside. See aggressive selling come back in towards that 6282 area. And now we're consolidating between both of these ranges. Now, this is a 855 candle, so I do think we break below it. Yeah, we do happen to break through. Passive selling is continuing to push through. This 6290 area is showing to be important. And yeah, there's honestly nothing to trade at this point. We broke down here at 805 or 905, I mean. And then as you'll see soon, we start seeing aggressive buying start to come in. Right at 905. And what we're looking through any of this, and yeah, here's when you start to see that 6270 area start to load up with significant liquidity. This level here has 142 contracts. This level here has 196. We either head towards 6300 or we head to 6270. Now, guys, from where we were at, that's going to be a coin flip, and that's where our strategy and system set up in place give us that edge. If you simply took a longer short here, betting on either side occurring, that would result in a coin flip, and that's not what we want to do. We want to use a distribution of bookmap liquidity and aggressors to gain that slight edge where we can predict where price will go next. That is more than simply coin flip, with positive risk to reward and positive expectancy, with decent Sharpe ratios and Sortino. But yeah, I want to see where I got my entry. I got my entry 8.3 at 9.10. So we're coming up very close to where our entry was. Okay, here was where I got my entry, and let me explain to you why. Two things. First, if you see the 6230 area, lots of liquidity over 1000. This itself stands as a major target and magnet for price, maybe potentially over the long run. We have the 6300 area and the 6270 area. And right as we came up here, we started to see buyer absorption at the 6290 areas. We see our sell-off occur, come back in, touch into a barrier. We started seeing aggressive buyers come in near the top, as you can see there to a certain extent. And then we see that sell-off occur. See now, once we've zoomed in, we actually see absorption there. And then the sell-off occurs. And I mean, it does go our way for a while until this happens. This thing within our trade made it was an invalidation signal that it wouldn't work. Right now, the trade doesn't look bad at all. We saw that expansion was towards the downside. We identified a reversal into a barrier of passive sell orders where we did happen to see some slight buyer absorption as noted by these high volume and buying delta near the top with aggressive buying signals here as well. You understand that there might have been buyer absorption there, and now we're starting to see a reaction off of it. In shorts, that seems pretty logical. So what do? We enter, place our stop right above this, around this 6290 area, because our barrier is right below it, as you can see here. So 6290 would allow a little bit of room, and we placed our take profit. That is a 6270 areas where we had 145 contracts sitting there. Now, this is essentially the exact time when we entered 6283.25 when we started seeing this aggressive selling pop in. Now, that was decent on our side. We did what we were supposed to an extent. But there are two ways that we could have prevented this. One, not take the trade at all because we started seeing passive buyers start to enter in around 6.275-ish. And two, which you'll start to see right now. Right here. Look at these 6280 level, right? Right at this 6280 level, we start to see 147 passive buyers that entered into the market. Now, reasonably, this is a pretty big invalidation signal. We're starting to see buyers move up and up their passive buy orders to higher and higher price levels, showing that they're trying to get filled. Now, at this point, there's two options. We either exit here, which would be like one or two ticks in profit, or essentially break even, or we can wait until a tap of that 6280 level to see how price is reacting off of that. And as you see, right after that 6280 barrier start to show up, once you started seeing that aggressive buying start to pop in, which you'll shortly notice. Wait for it. Right there. So 6285. So it would have made us take a similar loss to where we took our exit right now. Maybe around these 6285 levels. Or we could have entered earlier for break even, right when we saw this passive buyer enter into the market as an invalidation signal. Typically, I'm not worried about these passive buyers if they're right next to a major liquidity level. For example, if these 6280 level, that size of liquidity suddenly popped up right before we're going to tap this 6300 level, but buyer momentum is still there, I expect it to tap into that area at least, right? I expect it to at least tap into that area. Here, we are not even seeing it tap into that area. And because of that, it's showing that sellers are not showing strength. Buyers are starting to come in, and it's not a good idea to hold the position where we're at right now. Think about it in this way. We entered shorts here, but say we did not enter shorts there, and we did not see any of this at all. Would we enter shorts here? Heck no, we would not. So that's a sign for us to exit, and we likely would have prevented a 26 tick loss, which we did do today as well. Could have cut it down to maybe 1 to 5 ticks. Today we took a 7 tick loss. Nothing significant at all. Typically our losses are 15 to 20 ticks. Today was half of that, so I'm not mad about it at all. Essentially what we did was we said that if this 6290 area breaks, that invalidates our trade, we're going to head to 6300. But if this last area of resistance holds, then we'll get close to our stop loss, but if it holds, we can still go to our take profit. And as you'll see, we head towards that 6290 area. We almost get stopped out, but then price starts to show selling action once again. We were 2 ticks away from getting stopped. And that's the importance of putting some wiggle room in there as well. 2 ticks away from getting stopped. Right here. We did not get stopped. And as you'll soon happen to see, those 6290 sellers, those 6290 areas starts to refill with liquidity after it's swept, which shows that sellers might be coming back into the market, which I'm glad to see because I do see absorption there once again at 920 level at 920 right here. I saw that seller buyer absorption here at the top. High volume, large buyers absorbed. Now we're coming down with strength. There's 2 places to target. 6280 or maybe 6279.5. So let's say we placed our take profit at 6281.5. It would have looked something like this. And that would have provided for 1 to 1.4 risk to reward. It's not even worth trading at that point. But we're still holding. Today, this is what we did. We held. In reality, we should have sold off much earlier, likely around that area, but today we sold around this area because we somewhat got married to the trade, which we shouldn't have, and we should have been more quick to identify the invalidation signal. But we did manage our risk decently without that in consideration. There we saw selling come in aggressively, right? Then we start to see passive buyers start to load up once again. Now moving up to these 6282 areas, moving up even more, providing more support for the buying side, which essentially invalidates our shorts even more. We're starting to stall quite a bit here, and that is where we exited. We exited for 7 ticks after we saw stalling happen right next to a buy barrier with all this chop that happened previously. We're not trying to stay in this market for much longer. We're thankful that price came down back to where it is and did not hit our stop. And we're going to be done for the day unless we find a high quality setup. And honestly, I don't know if the target should have been 52 ticks as well. 52 ticks is a very, very big target, especially on ES as well. On ES, maybe 20-30 ticks is reasonable. But 52 ticks on ES or 13 points is extremely high. Although possible and although it can be done, you need to be very careful with invalidation signals. Today, we weren't careful with the first one, but we weren't greedy as well, and we were fine with taking a small loss in order to prevent a big loss. And that is one thing you have to learn, being able to. You're essentially trading as a game where you risk your capital to make returns. So don't expect to not lose capital because that's your tuition towards the markets essentially. But yeah, that's going to be the overall analysis for this trade. We did not take as big of a loss if we hit our stop, so I'm not mad with this trade at all. Very small loss that we took. Hopefully we can come back in better tomorrow. Today was PPI day as well, which could be a reason for all this choppy and not ideal price action and liquidity distribution on Bookmap. But yeah, let's keep going and see if there's anything there. I'm gonna tell you right away, nothing that I see. Right here, you see the 6282 bullish barrier. Nothing there. Now it's quite empty in regards to the distribution of liquidity. We're making that move up. 6290 liquidity did flip towards the upside, which is bullish. Maybe if you retrace, you can see absorption, continuation to longs, 6295 potentially. And we head towards that 6295 area. Whoo! This is going to be very, very, very perfect. Let me tell you something. One thing that I have noticed time and time again, whenever we have seen such a large move like this perhaps, that typically happens right after we take some sort of liquidity. Here at these 6295 areas, we took that 6295 level, as you can see, you'll shortly see here. Right after we took that level, we quickly saw aggressive shorts come in right here. We move up, see some volume come down quickly to back down to those 6282 level. And we push down below it. This was a very, very big sell that occurred here at around 954-ish. Now we're stalling once again at that level. It's hard to really confirm anything of that nature because of such high volatility. And the reason for that was because of that Trump news. Right at 9:54 Central Time or 10:54 Eastern Time, Trump asked the GOP lawmakers if he should fire the Fed chair, Mr. Jerome Powell, which weakened US stock indexes like ES, making that initial dump towards the downside. And that dump pushed us down like such. And now at this point, it's going to be very hard to trade with that volume and volatility. And I'll show you the actual volume and volatility. We had 9K in the prior candle. Now we have 43K. That's almost 5 times the typical volatility and volume that we're seeing. And that continues on to the next 2 to 3 candles as well. And the rest of the session, as you'll see. Then shortly after we see this move up, nothing to really target or capture on in terms of a play there. But we come back up to this 6295 level. Ooh, maybe go to the 629. Let's see. What I'm doing now is I'm trying to essentially see where those Trump shorts came in. Essentially replaying the market to grasp an idea of if there's anything we could have predicted. And the shorts itself did seem to happen from that 6295 area. So 2 times that 6295 area seemed to be very crucial for these overall shorts that came in today. First from this level, secondly from this level. First Trump news data, 6295, made dump. Second release of the data, 6295, moved down. And let's take a look. 1054 was the first news event, which would be right here. And 11:16 or 10:16 Central Time was with the second release. So yeah. right here does make sense. But just keep in mind that it always takes some sort of liquidity and then makes that big selling pressure. And I mean, it's already 10:16. As you'll soon notice, go until 10:25, we see the shorts continue. Now our market session has concluded, and today was quite a crazy day, filled with volatility and volume, which is 8 times the typical volatility and volume that we typically see, all because Mr. Trump wanted to potentially fire Powell, and he edged us and said later that he's not planning to do anything, which pushed the markets back up to rebalance the markets. So, I mean, there's that. Honestly, we could not have predicted the exact time where Trump was going to say this. And that's one of the things that intraday trading, that's one of the risks that come with intraday trading. You never know when certain news events are going to be released and how they come out. So that's why it's truly important to place a stop loss so that when these type of events occur, you don't get filled at such a bad price and you don't get affected because of these news events. But honestly, that's gonna be all for this video here today. If you have any other questions, feel free to join the free Discord server. The link is in the description down below. There are many resources and I truly believe you can get a thing or two out of it. Additionally, if you want to go ahead and take advantage of free order flow tools such as a Bookmap live stream by Bookmap, Think with Bookmap, and also take advantage of footprint charts from one of the best software platforms out there, Addis Charts, an official V2 trading channel partner. Take a look at the description down below as well. By using Addis Charts, you can start integrating footprint strategies within your system starting today without paying a single dime. So definitely do some more research into Addis Charts and take a look at it. I would personally recommend it because it's much easier for beginners to use and it's very user friendly. But once again, do your own research. But yeah, that's all I have here for today. I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow morning for the pre-market live session. I guess I'll see you guys then. Goodbye.